Okay, hi everyone. In this video I am going over something which I read recently in a magazine which I buy. I don't subscribe to, but I buy pretty much every month, stupidly. And it's Professional Photographer magazine. There was first of all, I would say this is a very good magazine. I like it, but it is quite depressing in the fact that there's a lot of professionals giving their take on the current photographic situation, or all that kind of stuff. And it's usually always like, oh, I can't make enough money, or my jobs suck, or things aren't that great. For example, somebody here, Craig Fleming, was going on about how a lot of his people that he works for are asking, hey, could you do this for free? And then somebody else writing another article about saying, you know, how cheap do we have to make it and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, one interesting article here I'll give you a clue, this is September's issue, 2011. A very interesting article written by Mick Cookson. Mick Cookson is a professional photographer, professional wedding photographer, and the title of the article was "The Undercutters." And what that is referring to is, well, the term the weekend warriors. And the weekend warriors, or the undercutters, are the people that do wedding photography for much cheaper than professional wedding photographers, and usually only do it the weekend. Thus the name the Weekend Warrior. And yes, I am drinking beer and I am a little bit drunk, so therefore I have no idea what I'm going to be saying. But what I do like is that in this article, in the September issue, it even starts off with Mick Cookson is possibly about to upset a few people here, or at least ignite an age-old debate. But he asks some serious questions of wedding photographers and then offers some possible answers. So I won't go into the possible answers that he writes, because therefore you should be buying the magazine if you want to know what the answers are. But he brings up the question of the weekend warrior, and are they destroying the professional wedding photographer market? So I've highlighted and underlined some certain comments that Mick has put here, and I'll just kind of go into my thoughts, and also this is more of a platform for you to give your opinions here as well. So with a magazine, it's you reading, but here is me telling you, and then you can put your comments down below, and you know, everyone can get into more of a discussion rather than it just being one way like this. So anyway, one of the first things that Mick says is that the big problem with wedding photography, or the wedding photography industry, is that it is unregulated. With no official qualifying requirements and no decent governing body. I agree. There isn't. There is nothing that says you need to be qualified to be in any way a wedding photographer. But at the same time, there's no kind of degree that you need to get to be a filmmaker or a wedding videographer, or even like if you are a person that paints people's portraits, do you need a degree or a qualifying degree in that? I don't think you do. So, but for a wedding, yes you do. I don't know. What do you think? And he goes on about how there's the SWPP, which is the something, which is society. There's the RPS, Royal Photographic Society, another society. There's the MPA, Masters of Photography Association, I can't remember, and the BIPP, British Institute of Professional Photographers, an institute, which all offer qualifying levels for photographers. Now, there's an interesting thing here, is that Mick even says that he was an LBIPP. What does the L stand for? Like lieutenant or something like that. But he deliberately let his membership of the institute lapse for a specific reason. I don't know what that specific reason is, so I'm going to have to go and Google Mick Cookson to try and figure out what his specific reason was for letting lapse his membership that he had for this qualifying government or institution that he was with. Me, I've never joined any institution or any of these groups or societies or associations. All I've found is that they're quite expensive, and I don't really know what I would get from them apart from a whole bunch of old people going, oh, I wish it was back in the film days. So I don't really know. The SWPP, I've seen that around a lot, but I don't really see any need to join it yet. If any of you are part of any of these societies or have any of these qualifications from these societies, please tell me below. Put in the description down below or in the comments down below. Tell me what you think is good or bad, or how much you pay, why you pay it, and have the qualifications given you anything. He even says, Mick here says, is that he thinks these qualifications that you get from these institutes and societies means more to a photographer's ego than to a budget conscious bride. Okay, so he goes on to say that the weekend warrior, he defines the weekend warrior, are those who still have the security and salary of a full-time or part-time job throughout the week. These weekend warriors are the archetypal budding pro. Okay, so that's not a bad thing, as long as they are budding pros. I don't mind a weekend warrior that is a budding pro, that wants to be a professional. A professional is a person that I would say that's doing it full-time all the time and doesn't really have another job. But wanting to be a budding pro, you cannot slate. You see, these people are putting in their maximum effort, doing their best with the editing, the album design, the services that they're giving their clients, then that's all fine. Just because they've got a job during the week and means they can't do weekday weddings, I don't see that really being an issue to the average professional wedding photographer. And so yeah, if it is a budding pro, that's absolutely fine. But if it's just somebody who's trying to make money on the side while thinking, oh, I can press some buttons on my camera and change some settings on my lenses and all that kind of stuff, if they're not trying to be professional and they're doing wedding photography, yes, that's where I see there's most definitely an issue. He goes on to say that the weekend warrior shoots with little or no backup kit and limited or no insurance. It's like, I don't know what kind of idiot would ever do a wedding shoot without backup equipment. You've got to have a backup camera, got to have backup batteries, got to have backup memory cards, got to have backup lenses, well, not backup, but just like lots of different lenses, and backup transport, and lots of different things that if you are a budding pro, you should have all this already. You shouldn't be kind of thinking about it afterwards. So again, if you are a bride and you're looking for a wedding photographer, and if you find one that says, oh yeah, I can do it for cheap, you go, that's great. Find out, are they going to be able to offer you services such as a second shooter? Are they going to be able to offer you, can they give you the reassurance of an insurance? Or like if one camera breaks down, they can use another camera. If one memory card dies, they can use another memory card. Such kind of minor things, which I would imagine anybody who's taking on the responsibility of shooting a wedding really shouldn't take it on without the idea of having lots of backup equipment. And he says, rightly or wrongly, these people exist. They always have done. But it's more obvious now that the industry has gone digital. I would say that's most definitely true. So many people can pick up a camera, and cameras nowadays are so amazing that you can do so many different types of photos, and photos in locations which only a very professional photographer could ever have done with film. And I would fully admit that if I were to be given a film camera just now, I'd be like, what the hell? I have no idea how to use this. But fortunately, at any wedding I do now, I do at least 700 to 1,000 to a big wedding being like 1,500 photos in one day. Okay, it depends on how many guests you've got and that kind of stuff, but I could never have done that on a much cheaper budget and with film. I would just have no idea how many photos I've had to have taken. And now the fact that at any one group shot I can take 5, 6, 10 photos of everyone standing there ready for their shot, and I can go through those 10 photos and select, right, that's the one where no one's blinked. That's the kind of benefit of digital. Not just the fact that you can take thousands of photos, but the fact that you can choose the best one out of the lot. So again, yes, I would say a lot more of these weekend warriors can use their digital equipment and undercut the professional photographer by just taking lots of photos. Then he goes on to say, admittedly, they do serve the market. There are brides with only £300 in their budget who just want some photos on a disc, or for their phone or for their Facebook page. So, okay, so a professional wedding photographer, you don't really need to worry about these kind of weekend warriors, because the clients that you're going to be going for are going to be people that want good wedding photos. The people that want proper albums made up. People that want to see your work beforehand and all that kind of stuff. And Mick Cookson here shows you some of his very, very nice photos of the shots that he's done. And he also tells you the equipment that he uses. Oh, the 24 f1.4, the 50 f1.4, and the 85 f1.4. Oh, nice equipment. He's also working with a D700, two D700s and a D3. So, you know, this guy, clearly, that's the kind of equipment that you should be having if you are shooting weddings. Although you probably could shoot with like much more amateur stuff, but again, if you want to have the most amount of control and capability at a wedding, you want to have the best equipment. And this equipment isn't cheap in any way. So anyway, this is more of my question. So after kind of reading all through this and him giving the tips and stuff, are any of you professional photographers? And out of you professional photographers, are any of you professional wedding photographers? If so, do you think the advent or the emergence of the weekend warrior, i.e. the photographer that shoots weddings at the weekends while still having a full-time, normally paying job, but yet aren't giving professional results, are they an issue to your business? Because at the same time, I kind of think if it's a photographer who is giving subpar photos, subpar service, subpar, skill at a wedding. A wedding is not just going along and taking some photos. You've got many different styles of photography. You've got your documentary, you've got your, well, documentary and reportage, you've got your classical style, which is all the stage kind of shots, and then you've got your more contemporary stuff where you're setting up more elaborate kind of looks to it. So, you know, you've got different types of photographers, you've got different types of looks to the way they shoot, and you've also got different types of way that they present their albums. Like some people want it in a leather-bound book, somebody wants it in a case, some people just want it on their Facebook page. You know, there's lots of different options here. Where was I going? Ugh, I need to drink some more beer. Because I am one of the weekend warriors. However, I don't give away my photos for cheap. Like you're saying here that some people will shoot a wedding for £300. These are called shoot and burn weddings. I'm like, £300 for a wedding? I don't understand how anyone could do that. You've got to think of, like, if you were having to rent the equipment, for one camera it's about £150 for the weekend. Although you can't rent it just for one day on a Saturday because the shop's usually closed on the Sunday, so you have to rent it for the full weekend. That's considered like 2 days, so it's actually about £200 to rent a camera for the weekend. And if you wanted to get the best lens, you still have to put down the deposit of the full cost of the lens, and then you get all that back apart from the cost of whatever it was for the length of time that you rented it. So still, you're like £300 just for the rental of some equipment. And if you're having to rent backup stuff as well, it's like, that's going to cost a fortune. So I kind of figure that as my cost as a photographer. Although I may own the stuff, I kind of factor in the cost of what it would be if I was having to rent it. So if my stuff breaks down the day beforehand and I need to go quickly into the camera shop and rent the stuff, I've got the budget to do that. So £300 for a wedding. Like, you've got to think, you're shooting from, let's say, from 12 until 9 o'clock at night. You're doing a full 9-hour shift. That's the easy part. So afterwards of the selecting out of the, you never give somebody 1,000 photos from their wedding. You go through them all, you select them all, then you edit the best ones. So for example, the last wedding I just did, I took about 1,000 photos, I've cut it down to 300 and I've edited those 300. That's been a minimum of about 20 to 25 constant hours. I'm not talking about 25 like working in an office hours, I'm talking about 25 hours like 2 hours one day, 1 hour the next day, 2 hours the next day. So it's been like about a month of me going through and selecting and editing, and then you go back and look at them and go, hold on, that doesn't fit that one, and trying to get so that all the images all work together as one giant big thing. So again, the shoot of the wedding, maybe 10 hours, the editing is another 20 hours, and then if you're making the wedding album as well, that's at least about another 10 hours worth of doing that work. So if I was a full-time pro, yeah, I could probably do that within a week. I could easily do 52 weddings a week, no problem. 52 weddings a year, you know, one a week. But because I'm having to do it all after work, it's taking me about a month to make sure I've got everything absolutely perfect. But that's because I am doing my best to become a budding pro. Well, I am the budding pro. I am the one that wants to do this full time throughout my whole life. But if you're just a person that's trying to make some money and just, oh, £300 this weekend because I took some crap photos at somebody's wedding, that's a completely different matter. So tell me what you think. Do you think people like myself are a disaster for the wedding photography industry? Or do you think as long as we are trying to be budding pros, as long as we're trying to be professional, then there's not too much of an issue? Again, what I would say is that I totally agree that trying to give a wedding away for £300 is impossible. And brides that go for that kind of £300 option, they're not going to be taking a professional photographer's cost anyway. So are you really losing out on anything at all? I think I'm finished. I've probably missed out some stuff. But anyway, give me your thoughts down below. Cheers. Bye. Okay, hi everyone. Before you even ask, yes, I am very drunk.